All right, ladies and gents, it's another Wednesday, it's another 11 a.m. somewhere in the world. I'm curious about the questions today, and I got spoiled a little bit already because, spoiler alert, I already looked into the questions so I can prep accordingly. And those are fun ones. So let's get started without further ado, and let's tackle some shoulders today.
Hi, everyone. So the first question is, what is your opinion on body weight exercises for shoulders?
Okay, that's a okay. Let's backtrack a little bit. So, as you guys might know already, I coach position with tension. So that means I'm talking about bones being moved by muscles. I have a very different opinion and view on how to train your hips versus your shoulders. The 5 second elevator pitch is you have to load your hips first and then move it somewhere. The shoulder is exactly the opposite. I'm going to explain why in a second. So the shoulder needs a lot of movement first before it needs the loading part. And here comes the body weight exercises versus weighted exercises, or however you want to call it, using external weights. Um, so why is that? I have a whole chapter in the book explaining it in a fancy, non-fancy way, in a scientific, non-scientific way about the evolution of the shoulder, like coming from like millions of years from basically being apes. I'm sorry, guys, but we're apes, a little bit more advanced apes most of the times, to the shoulder nowadays. So the big picture behind shoulder and hips is this. Um, we used to walk on all fours using the shoulders as the primary joint for thousands of years. That's how apes moved, like hanging and climbing and all that stuff. And the hip was more of a secondary joint, right? Because surprisingly, we did not stand on 2 feet until a couple of thousands of years ago. So the point being is that's the difference of how a shoulder should be treated and a hip should be treated. The shoulder needs a lot of movement. What does that mean? Bones can move a lot in the shoulder. So that means your shoulder blades, your big arm bone, and your rib cage. That's what a shoulder is for me. And the whole point about bodyweight exercises is, and that's why they're working so well, is your shoulder needs to move through those range of motions as much as possible. And we already know this because you can gain some decent muscle mass through just doing body weight exercises for your shoulder. That means push-ups, pull-ups, dips, all that kind of non-fancy stuff. If you only do this, you can grow a fair amount of muscle mass without even touching your barbell or without even touching any other equipment. That's not the case for the lower body, right? Because you can do all the lunges, all the air squats, all the body weight movements for your hips. Trust me, your hips and your lower body is not going to grow a ton. So that's why I'm focusing programming wise on the shoulder on different stuff. So what's the order of it? I start with body weight exercises for the shoulder, and then slowly move into loading the shoulder through carries. And the third step is loading the shoulder through whatever sandbags and then barbells and all the kind of stuff. And I think that's super important on how we start training our people, because the focus on the shoulder should be the body weight exercises first, and a ton of them, so the shoulder can start literally moving freely and getting somewhat of a stimulus and response as well, and then slowly build it up until at the very end we can talk about bench pressing and all the fancy stuff. We actually put out a bunch of videos this week about how much movement in the shoulder you need for body weight exercises, like a ton, and how much you need for heavily loaded shoulder exercises like a bench press, which is zero. Uh, and I'm not going to go into any details in here. Let's finish with this. So a lot of movement for the shoulders through bodyweight exercises first, and you're going to end up at some point with whatever you want to do, barbell, bench press, etc., with zero movement for the shoulder. How do I know? Well, obviously I tested it, and my peeps in the gym have tested it. And the cool part is, if there's somebody out there with probably shoulder problems while bench pressing, try this. Forget the weight on the bar, put like 75, 80% on the bar, and only focus on getting your shoulder blades together in your starting position. So when you unrack the bar, not letting that go throughout the whole pressing motion, and see how your shoulder feels. I can guarantee your shoulder won't hurt if you don't move your shoulder at all. That's the whole point about bench pressing, is learning how the lats should stabilize the shoulder blades, learning how you extend your arm by using your triceps, and how your pec is gonna keep the shoulder in place and literally stay stretched throughout the whole movement without your shoulder coming forward. The shoulder coming forward is not a mistake or a flaw. It's just you have not learned the skill of position with tension yet, which is fine. And following the order of bodyweight exercises to stuff that fits in between your hands, like sandbags, etc., to the barbell bench press, if you follow that order, things are gonna get fixed without you working extensively and wasting time on technique work on your bench press. But that's a long ass answer for why bodyweight exercises rock for your shoulder. Don't stay there though, right? So we humans love ones and zeros. We love black and white. It's like, okay, that means, Greg, I'm only going to do bodyweight exercises for my shoulders now. No, you little fuckers out there. That's not what I said. I said that's where we're going to start, but we have to evolve our shoulder towards being able to move loads, whether that's a sandbag or at the end of the day, a barbell bench press. So don't cherry pick, do all of it, but in a certain order, and obviously with my approach on position with tension. First question done. What's the next question?
You, in your book, you talk about...
Wait. We have a question coming in. You can unmute yourself, Julia, and just bring it on. We're not in school where you have to raise your arm and wait for a teacher
I
to
didn't
pick
want to
you.
interrupt your train of thought,
That's
so
fine. It's fine.
if you have one of these people who just has very immobile shoulder blades, like I think we all know these people who are just, you're like, hey, can you do like just bring them together and then like push them apart, and it's like, and they're just not moving, and you're like, okay, just a little bit closer, and then they're maybe moving a millimeter. Like, what are your favorite go-to fixes there? I mean, of course, something like that needs time, but like what do you usually start with to help them just to mobilize the shoulder blades a little bit to actually be able to just move them?
That's a question worth stopping me at any point. That's a really good question. No, because
Yes.
it's a practical question, and that's what we're facing as coaches on a daily basis. So the first train of thought is, why is a shoulder blade not moving, right? So, and in my world, muscles move bones. So there's got to be something muscle-wise that is not allowing the shoulder blades to move how it's supposed to move, whether that's pulling them in all the way or pushing them out, retracted, protracted in fancy terms. So what's the root cause of it? Which muscle is attaching to all three major bones in your shoulder, which is the big arm bone, the shoulder blades, and the rib cage. And there's only one in the whole fucking upper body which does that. And this is your lat dorsi, right? So my point is, the big muscles like the lat dorsi have to do the big work. And it would make sense if those muscles that I want to teach also combine all bones that need to be moved. I know it's super fancy, but no one has talked about this. So I would focus on the lats. And what does that mean? I'm not, I don't do corrective exercises or mobility exercises at all. The best way, if you want to get an exercise from me, is the Chinese row. But it's not about the Chinese row. It's about how you do the Chinese row. And I'm going to explain it in a second. Do you know what a Chinese row is? Just thumbs up, down. Yeah. Okay, perfect. For everybody out there who doesn't, this is you're on a bench facing down. You have a lot of room underneath you. So it's basically a row, a horizontal row on a bench, right? The whole point about the Chinese row is position-wise, fully letting go of your arm, like fully stretching your arm at the top. So at the bottom, when the barbell is in your hands. So fully stretching it. Why? Because the lat's attaching here. So I want it to get stretched as much as possible, right? And then you're going to pull the barbell up all the way up until your shoulder blades come in and your shoulder blades actually stay down. right? So you want to pull them in, but also keeping the shoulder down. That is the best way how to get your shoulder blades more mobile, by teaching your big muscle, that's the lat dorsal, how to do the job in that plane of movement. And this is super simple. And you will see that a lot of people have a hard time getting the barbell all the way up while maintaining and getting their shoulder blades together. So in practice, that's totally fine. I'm looking for more closing the distance between the shoulder blades rather than going with your shoulders up. Most of the people compensate this motion where you need the lats with rising up their shoulders. That's where we actually see shoulders shrugging in whatever, snatches, pull-ups, and all that kind of stuff, because the lat is too weak. That's not a positional error. This is not gonna get fixed by push your shoulders down. This is not how this works. Because under stress, the only thing that you can teach your body is the big muscles functioning. So all we have to care about in the Chinese row is, okay, getting the shoulder blades closer together without your shoulder blades rising. And whatever their threshold is there, that's where your mobility at the moment is. So mobility is range of motion under tension, and not some weird fucking exercises where you measure angles and bones and all that kind of stuff. Right? But that's also how you can measure progress for your people with pulling the shoulder blades together. And that takes a couple of weeks, but they'll realize, okay, it's not about just pinching the shoulder blades together. It's actually training your lats in all three different jobs, which is stabilizing, producing, and absorbing tension. And all of a sudden, the mobility gets better. That's a very long-ass answer for a very good question. Does it make sense? If not, say no, because then I go different route. Yes? Okay, perfect. So we use the Chinese row all the time. We don't use like bent over rows because you can compensate with a lot of other stuff. The beauty with the Chinese row is like your body is fixed. There's nothing that can move without your shoulders up or your shoulder blades back. So it's easy to see what's actually happening. Everybody can do it. You don't have to have a pull-up. You don't have to have any sort of strength levels. Like literally everybody can do it.
And so you just set up on the boxes every time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just on plates or boxes, you have enough space. You can literally like fully extend your arm at the bottom, get a full stretch in. And that's the beauty, because all of a sudden you can combine flexibility, mobility, and strength work. This is all one. There's no need to differentiate this. There's no need for sticking a ball somewhere to get rid of tension and then adding tension in an assistant strength exercise. This doesn't make any sense, right? So we can do all of this in one exercise, correct it, strengthen it in the same exercise. And I love being efficient, and I hate wasting time with people. And I really like making people stronger. So I guess we'll just keep doing it because it's working.